Good afternoon and welcome to Across the Arts. I'm your host, Patrick D. McCoy, and welcome to this edition of the Spotlight Series. I am honored to introduce my dear friend, the prize-winning tenor, Issachah Savage. Good afternoon, Issachah.
Good afternoon, Patrick. So good to see you again, man.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for being here. I just feel like I'm reunited with an old friend. Well, of course I am. And it's so good to see you. And I'm sure that there are a lot of people watching this afternoon and just so excited to see you on today.
It's really an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, my goodness, Issachah, just like most artists right now, talk about your whole ability right now to adapt to COVID-19, or have you adapted to COVID-19 and social distancing?
Well, I think very much like everyone else, I'm taking it one day at a time, trying to just really take it one day at a time, but never losing hope. But I have to admit, I've been very, very outspoken at the beginning of this about wear your mask, wear your mask, wear your mask. And I have to admit that wearing the mask has come a bit more easier to me than the social distancing part. As a person, I am very huggy and personable as an individual. So, having to keep everybody at arm's length it has been a challenge.
Oh my goodness. Well, we know that you are definitely a friendly person because you're a favorite of ours here in Washington, D.C., but you're a native of Philadelphia.
Yes.
Talk to the listeners who may be unfamiliar with you and your roots in Philadelphia. Talk about your upbringing there and how it inspired your career as a singer.
Oh wow. Yeah, I'm definitely a Philadelphian, and my upbringing had played a monumental part in me becoming a singer. I mean, growing up in my home, you could always find music playing somewhere. Somebody was playing something, and you better believe that it was usually gospel, something from the Hawkins family, of sure. But aside from in the home, going to Kappa, I went to Creative and Performing Arts High School. And it was just a rich experience that broadened my mind and allowed me to take my training ground, which I call church, take that training ground and take it into the schools and develop it even more, which is where I began my love for classical music. I
Wow.
didn't grow up with it in the house at all.
Oh
Eh,
my goodness. So
Not at all.
when was it that you um of course you know the great lady from Philadelphia, Marian Anderson. What was that like when you really connected her legacy to your own path as a classical singer?
That was really, really, as I have to say, because it was due to the late great Blanche Burton Lyles,
Mhm.
wonderful Philadelphian and pianist. It was because of her that I was able to link my journey to the legacy of Marian Anderson through the Marian Anderson Society of Philadelphia Incorporated. I was the first scholar artist of that effort, and it's because of Blanche and all of her mentorship at that time. I was able to really dig deep into the legacy of Marian Anderson.
Now, you know, a couple of years ago when I was in Philadelphia for one of the regional NAM conferences, I had a chance to visit the Mary Anderson Museum and I met her and I saw your picture. I was like, oh my goodness, it's somebody that I know. And while we're talking about Philadelphia and all these great singers, I see that Kenny Overton is on. Shout out to Kenny.
Kenneth Overton.
And then, of
Kenny
course,
is another Philadelphia. That brother has a heart of gold. He really
yes,
does.
he
He's a good
does.
guy.
Now, I want to just go ahead and talk. You know, you have had some wonderful triumphs, and as I mentioned in my introduction, you're certainly a prize-winning singer. Talk about when you won the prize for Seattle Opera, because I'm going to get to that clip a little bit, but just the whole idea of winning a prize and an opera prize, and you're singing the music Wagner. Can you talk about that? And
Well, it was. I mean, you hear when people talk about these kinds of breaks in their career, you always hear the word surreal, and I have to use it again for a lack of a better word to come up with. I tell you, it was really, really jaw dropping for me, and I didn't go there with the perspective of winning. I didn't. I went there to do my best and to be heard in this repertoire because prior to that competition, I hadn't done very much Wagner. But I knew that that was a part of my journey, and I knew that it was definitely in my future for me to sing that repertoire because I had such great affinity for it. And it connected with me vocally, mentally, all of it. It really connects with me. So I hadn't done much. And so I had vintage cinema under my belt when I first started learning the arias. And then my coach, Patricia Sage, said to me, you should probably look at a bit more of this stuff, which gave me the courage to go into the Seattle Opera competition. Well, I didn't even know about the Seattle competition had it not been for Marilla, that young artist program. I didn't know about it until Aaron came and listened to some singers, and he heard me sing, and he said, "Well, yeah, I think you should submit an application." So that for me, that was like affirmation from my coach to somebody who didn't know me as well to say, "Hey, give this a try. Look at this a little bit." And so I had no thought that I would win, and particularly win the way I did. I mean, I lack the words really. They called my name for the first prize, and I thought, they cannot be. They can't be serious. I know I had done well because I felt really good about it, but I just thought they cannot be serious. And I'm standing there with my other colleagues, and we're all, kind of like near each other, and I'm like looking around, like, did he just really call my name? Did he really? Did he really say that? So, but after he called my name, and then again and again and again, it was pretty. Yeah, it became really emotional night for me.
wow. I mean, I'm sure that it takes a lot just to prepare for a moment like that. But I want to go back a little bit just beyond your training in high school and land right at Morgan State University. And for those of us who are some of us who may be listening and unfamiliar, of course, Morgan State is one of our preeminent historically Black colleges and universities. And Issachah, talk about your experience at Morgan and just how that really, played a role in your success in this career.
Wow. That could really take quite a bit of time.
Oh, come on, take your time, take your time.
Morgan State University holds a very, very special place in my heart. I mean, Morgan looked at me at the time that I auditioned for Morgan. I'll tell you this. First off, I didn't know Morgan existed. I
Mm,
was so ignorant. Coming up in Kappa, I didn't think about going to college. That was not a part of my trajectory. It wasn't a part of my thoughts. I didn't think I was going to go to college. I thought I was going to get out of school, high school, go and be a singer, probably a church singer, and get a job and just work and make money. That's what I thought. Well, I at the time I sang for the Philadelphia Welcome America celebration, sponsored by Sunoco at the time, and it was
mm.
a really big platform because I was up there with the likes of Boyz II Men and Peter Nero and the Philly Pops, and I remember singing the Star Spangled Banner. and it was with
Mm.
the orchestra with Peter Nero conducting, and this man happened to see that live performance by the name of Dr. Nathan Carter. He,
Oh,
s- he saw this live performance, and all of a sudden, that was my audition for Morgan State University. That became my real audition for Morgan State because he ended up calling Blanche Burton Lyles, and they connected and thought, let me speak to Dr. Carter in his famous voice. Let me speak to his mother. I got to talk to him. He has to come to Morgan. So, and all of a sudden, that's how it worked out. And Morgan, and I mean, he fulfilled every promise that he made to my mother, was that he would take care of me and that he would look out for me. And he certainly did that at Morgan State University. It's a place that's very special in that it's nurturing, but it's also challenging at the same time. Very, very challenging, because Morgan State University choir is a famous choir, as we all know. We traveled the world over singing with the likes of Kathleen Battle, Jesse Norman, Camellia Williams. I mean, you name it. I mean, so many great artists we worked with: Diane Shore, Stevie Wonder, Halle Berry. I mean, you name it. I mean, celebrities. Morgan State taught me how to be on a stage, how to be a part of an actual performing entity, and take that as your own.
Dr. Carter's reputation definitely preceded him, and I had the opportunity to work with him at the Hampton University's
Yeah.
Ministers Conference. And I just always marveled how when he would be there, he would always bring his Morgan students to that conference and give them platform. But I would be bold to also say that he was known for having a very rigorous approach to
Oh
his
God,
training
yes.
and teaching. Could
Oh
you
God,
maybe
yes.
talk about that and how that kind of rigor really prepared you when adversity came against you in terms of
Well,
different
I would say Dr. Carter, I mean, he really structured that choir and that whole HBU experience at Morgan State for like the strong survived. That's how he kind of structured it. He did not hold back any punches at all. If he didn't like it, he said it, and he said it exactly the way he meant it. You're not making an impact. Words like that, or comments like, "You're not making an impact." I don't feel you. I see you, but I don't feel you. Things like that. I mean, literally in front of everybody. And the other thing that I loved so much about my experience with Dr. Carter, as rigorous as it was, because you sang the solo last week does not mean that you're going to sing it this week. So when he called you, when he said, we're going to sing, it pays to serve Jesus. Now, a song that he fashioned after my voice. So the story goes. But when he put that out there, it did not mean that Issachar is going to be the one to sing it. So
Mm.
it was. We all had to learn every solo, and we all had to stay put in the choir when it started, because you didn't know whether it was good. You didn't know who he was going to call on. So it really was trial by fire in a way where you had to be ever so ready, as the Bible says, "Be ye also ready." Dr. Carter lived by it.
Now, one of my favorite works by Dr. Carter is his setting of "It Is Well with My Soul," and there's a clip
My Lord.
on YouTube, of course, and it's an older clip, but there's so many like singers that you recognize who are really great singers now. Could you maybe talk about some of your classmates who are now on some of the world stage? I know there are
Oh
quite
my
a
goodness.
few.
Oh yeah, quite a few, quite a few. I mean, in multiple genres. You have the Anthony Brown and group therapy taking the gospel world by storm. You have James Murphy also taking the gospel world by storm. But then you have wonderful artists like the great Solomon Howard, who
Yeah.
also came out of Morgan State University. And then there's Leah Hawkins, who's coming up out of Morgan State. Taylor. Ben Taylor, who
Mhm.
came out of Morgan State, Antonio Chase, Angelo Johnson, and then when you go into the choral arena, my God, it's massive. Jason Max Ferdinand, who just released a new album. Then there's Jeremy Winston. I mean, so many great
And
artists
Kevin
have come out of
Short.
Morgan. Kevin Short, I mean, who's also a a serious inspiration for me. I mean, I remember when I was a student at Morgan, Kevin Short came. Betty Ridgway, my teacher at the time, asked him to come and speak to some of the students, and I got a chance to have a one-on-one with Kevin Short when I was a student at Morgan State University. I thought I was sitting in the presence of God. Kevin walked in. I mean, he's not very tall, but when he speaks, it's like he stands 10 feet. He, hello, it's kind of, it's a very resonant sound right from the start. It was a pleasure to meet him and to work with him for a bit.
Wow, we're going to revisit the Morgan years in a second. But first, I want to go to this moment at this Seattle Opera competition and play this clip for the viewers and the watchers so they can get
Oh,
a
wow.
gist of your magnificent instrument. And then I'll let you talk to them about it. So I'm going to, let's see. As you know, Issachah, these things is almost like a rehearsal in itself. Let's see. We're going to here, and hopefully that'll be fine.
Oh, wow.
I heard something. It stopped.
Yeah, it stopped. I heard it stop.
Okay, let's see. No, that's not the right clip. Okay. There we go. For some reason, we're having a little technical difficulty with this particular clip. Let's try it one more time. Just for the interest of time, I'm gonna go ahead and stop this. I'm not sure why that's doing that all of a sudden now.
Yeah.
But anyway, the listeners, I could repost the link to this exact aria. But Issachah, could you maybe talk about this selection that you chose for the competition and the impact that it had?
Well, it had a really special impact. I mean, I remember saying to Maestro Spate Jenkins when we were structuring the arias, well, okay, well, you can't have that one. That one's been taken, so you can't sing that one. Someone's already singing that. And I thought, are you kidding? I came in with Sigmund Heissig, and so there's someone singing that. You can't do that one. And I said, oh, okay. So I named quite a few, actually. And he said, someone's singing it. You can't do it. So then I said, okay, I've been working on this. I've been looking at it. It's a bit premature, but I really can sing it, and I really do like it. He said, well, what is it? And I told him. He said, oh. He goes, oh. So I said, but I really can sing it. He says, listen, I believe that you can sing it. Why not we put it down and you do it? And so we did. I chose the piece, the Am Fortes die Wunde, and also the Mein lieber Schwan, because they were contrast very different. One expressing such lyricism and legato, and the other one more heroic and declamatory. And so I felt it necessary to start the competition with Am Fortas die Wunder and get their attention in terms of my voice, and then come back and lull them. That was my mindset anyway, and it kind of paid off a little bit.
It did. It did. You won the prize. Libby Pulliam, I love Libby, as you may know. He said your voice it broke the internet. So that's why your voice is so glorious that it broke my sound clip.
Libby, that is my brother. That is my brother. That's a phenomenal singer and a wonderful person.
He is. He is. Um, I want to move ahead a little bit now because I know that there are a lot of people who want to know about your upcoming recital here in the DMV. And you actually lived here for many years while you were in school. So
I
talk
did.
about the special place that the DMV has for you. And for those who are listening, don't know what the DMV, not where you go get your car. It's DC, it's DC, Maryland, and Virginia.
That's too funny. Yeah. So definitely not my car, but definitely in DC, the nation's capital. I lived there for 10 years. 10 years from '03 till about 2013, late 2013. Shane and I moved to New York, but it a special place in my heart because I was completing my master's degree at Catholic University of America. While doing that, I also began life at married life
Mm.
in DC. Um, I discovered so many wonderful things and met so many great people. I've worked with the Washington Choral Arts Society, the Washington Performing Arts Society, sang at the Kennedy Center many times, and worked with some of the great artists of that area. Um, did a lot of master classes there, performed in many and taught many. Worked with the wonderful John Ayler. So many great. I love John. I love John
I don't
Ayler.
know if you know this, or most people know this. He is my favorite tenor
He's
because
wonderful.
I wanted to sing a lot of oratorio and recitals, and he was one of the first tenors because I heard him on the Kathleen Battle, John
Yeah.
Ayler, Samuel Ramey, and who's the Florence Quibar on the
Uh huh.
Messiah recording.
Yes, yes. He's phenomenal. He's a wonderful person too. So I got to work with these great people, and the late great Dr. Michael Cordovana.
Mm.
Of course, Sharon Chrisman is there in DC. Dr. Indul Choi. I mean, so many, so many. Um, I forged a great relationship with the arts community in DC, and it enabled me to branch out a bit and to develop a bit of courage that I needed to go out into the professional world. Um, my first church job I had was in Washington D.C. I worked at the First Baptist Church of Washington D.C. on 16th Street. I was there for 10 years. I
Wow.
can't. Every time I think about it, it makes my head hurt. I can't even believe it. I was there under the great organist, Mr. Lon Schreiber.
Yes.
Yes, I worked with Lon. I was there for 10 years as his tenor soloist and the section leader.
Oh my goodness. Now, talk a little bit more about this special recital that you're going to be presented in this weekend by Classical Movements.
I'm really excited to do it. First off, and I'm very grateful to Classical Movements for um, thinking outside of the box and really preparing this platform for the time that we are in. They went through great lengths to make it very social distanced. Everybody's required to wear their mask if they choose, but they're also very spaced out far apart, and they're abiding by the state guidelines for the number of people that can gather I mean, so I'm loving it. But the program, I selected these pieces just based out of things that I just love to sing that were fun. Stuff that goes back into when I first started singing classical music, when I first started looking at some of this stuff, first started learning Italianate songs and stuff like Spirate pu spirate by Donaldi. Just learning these kind of pieces. And that's what? Why not? Go back and revisit some of this stuff, the stuff that gave me the most joy in singing. Go back and revisit a lot of that and bring it back in. Bring it back to current date. And then we're going into some Strauss. We're going to do a few of the Strauss pieces, and we're going to do piece like Ruhe meine Seele. We're going to do a few arias that I love. Of course, we're going to dig into some Otello, a role that I absolutely love to do. We're going to go into some Wagner stuff as well. Um, yeah, yeah, it's going to be a really, really fun program.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
looking forward to it.
Yeah, and the shout out to Neeta Helms. She's such a visionary with classical movements, and the fact that she was able to, even during this whole season of COVID-19, do
Yeah,
this whole virtual component as well to her festival. If I'm not mistaken, it started July 25th, and
correct.
now you have these live concerts. It's going to be amazing. But I also want to go back to something you mentioned about how you've been able to forge these community arts relationships. So you were introduced to another Kappa later on in life. So you talked about Kappa in Philadelphia.
Absolutely.
Can you talk a little bit about Kappa in the form of the Coalition for African Americans in the Performing Arts,
Absolutely.
who
And I'm
stayed with
glad
the
we
great
can
color to the classics?
bring color to the classics. I am so thrilled to be a part of that organization. I mean, because I met Terry Allen, the executive director, of course. I met Terry Allen when I was living in Washington, D.C. I met
Mm,
her there, and I was a part of that inaugural season when
mhm.
her daughter Pamela Simonson and the president, Madam Chair, we were a part of that inaugural season. We sang for I think it was a program called Painting Puccini and Pasta. Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, Terry is so creative with these wonderful, wonderful performing opportunities and venues and how she puts it all together. She's just wonderful with that. And I'm honored to be a part of it because what it does is that the Kappa reaches out in a broader way and not just saying, okay, we're going to provide a platform. But not
Mhm.
just that, but how we can help you further, how we can help you along your journey with the masterclass series and all of the alike, the competition where they give where they do provide sponsorship for young singers. I mean, I know as a young singer I needed that. I
Mhm.
needed that so drastically when I was coming up, first starting out. I needed it very much. But another relationship, though, when you mentioned Anita, no, Neeta helped.
Mhm.
I met Neeta about 9, 10 years prior.
Oh,
And it
wow.
was also through Morgan State University. I mean, just to show you the power of these relationships and how they can all really come together. We met then. Morgan State University was going to South Africa, and
Mm.
Nita and her organization was a part of that, and getting them over to South Africa.
Wow, these
Absolutely.
connections. Oh my goodness. So just to talk a little bit more about the special recital that you're being presented in, your accompanist is fabulous.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Joy and we've worked together a few times and quite a few times, actually. And I would tell you, every single time, it's always been a connection. It's always been such music where she's giving me certain things. A lot of things I don't even have to ask for. Joy just knows
Mm.
the rep. She just knows the rep, and she knows how to support you very well.
A lot of times the pianist sometimes gets the short end of the stick, but if it wasn't for the collaboration with the
Absolutely.
collaborative pianist and the singer, then we would be up the creek somewhere without these
Absolutely.
fabulous accompaniments. So shout out to Joy. I met her years ago because of her relationship with the Cathedral Choral Society under the direction of the late J. Riley Lewis. So
Yes,
that's
yes.
something. Now I want to go back to this recital because I think I have the link on the screen for the viewers, because I do know, as you mentioned, it's definitely an intimate space because of COVID-19 and social distancing. So I definitely want to give a shout out to, again, to Neeta Helms, how they've gone through all of these
Yeah,
precautions to keep the people safe and the audience safe and well distanced. But also I want to give another shout out to the Coalition for African Americans in the Performing Arts, because they're
absolutely.
also partnering with the organization, because you are a part of it. And I think that speaks volumes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Terry Allen and Nita, the two of them together is magic. I mean, they're doing some great things.
Now, Issachar, I want to talk specifically about some of your roles, as especially let's talk about Otello, because even when it comes to roles like Otello, and even in the soprano canon, when you're talking about the role of Aida and these discussions about toning of the skin and things of that nature, but we won't necessarily go there. Just talk to me about the joy that you feel when you sing Otello.
I really do. I've always been enamored with really, really strong characters being weakened and having to fight their way out of it, or having to somehow redeem their weakness.
Mm.
I've always been really, really enamored with that. And Otello, it is just a role that I fell in love with earlier on in my development. I sung the role of Cassio quite a bit before I sung Otello. And it was at the time when I sang Cassio, I remember the conductor saying to me, you should pay attention to the Otello. You should really pay attention, because I think you're going to sing this part. And that was with Summer Opera Theater of Washington, D.C.
Mm.
The wonderful Elaine Walter. I'm sure she's watching as well. Uh, Another relationship I met I forged in DC. Just a fabulous, fabulous organization that gave me a shot to sing Cassio. But in singing that role, I was able to watch in real time how to keep benchmarking it and keep, taking little bits and pieces and learning it. With a role like that, that's all you want to do, little parts, and just learn it piece by piece. The joy that I have in it is really just, I mean, it really is the Mount Everest of opera until I learned Tannhäuser. Until I learned Tannhäuser. It really is a Mount Everest in opera. Um, but my joy is just the character, his character. The music, of course, is sublime. I mean, the duet doesn't get any more romantic. You didn't get any more romantic than that Già nella notte densa. And then the climaxes, while they seem volatile and while they all seem wild, I tend to like it a little bit more thoughtful. Um, I tend to like it a little bit more subdued. I don't like the perspective that Otello's just unhinged, because
Mm.
then he just comes off being really stupid and angry.
Yeah.
He comes off being really, really stupid and angry. So I like it to be a little bit more thoughtful and methodic in his way. Yeah, I enjoy one of the people that I look to a lot for that, is Mr. John Vickers.
Mm.
His way of navigating through that from a character perspective is my all-time favorite from a character perspective.
Thank you so much. Just as we begin to wrap up, I saw that there was a question about how to find out more information about the concert. So I have the link here on the screen, www.classicalmovements.com, and you can find the information. I think someone asked, was the concert being live streamed? I'm not sure, but I'm sure that all of the details will be at this link. Issachar, as we wrap up our time together, first of all, again, I want to say thank you. It's a joy. And
Thank
I love
you.
the fact that you are the same. You're jovial and so personal every time someone encounters you. And I think that is such an important part of being a successful artist, to be accessible. And speaking of which, as we move towards the end of the interview, I'm sure there are young singers who are watching or aspire to this great career. What would you say to them?
I would say, really, and this is something that I've come to learn. You don't have to, have all the answers all at once. Really, really embrace all of your journey, every step of it. Embrace all of it, and don't throw anything in the trash.
Mm.
It just because it seemed like you didn't knock it out of the park, or you didn't do it the way someone did, Delmonico did it, or Corelli, or whomever. It took them a long time to be Corelli. It took them a long time to be Delmonico and Leontine Price. A good friend of mine was saying the same thing to me. She says, "Well, Zakiah, I don't sing. I can't sing that like Clayton Price." And I thought, of course you can't. Of course you
Mm.
can't. Because you're not Lansing Price. I just think, what I would say to every young singer, really embrace every part of your journey, respect every part of your journey, respect that process, because really it will serve you well in the future. It will serve you well in terms of longevity, in terms of just being a complete person. So much of what we do in the arts is focused on our singing and our knowledge and our knowledge base of the industry and the music making. But so much is left out about the person. So
Mm.
much is left out about who you are as an individual. The great Stephanie Blythe, I watched her on Kiki Conversations, and she said one thing that it resonated with me like a gong. She said, you got to know who you are,
Mm.
because there are many people who will try to tell you who you are. Well, obviously, no truer words had ever been spoken, but in order to know who you are, you have to really find out.
Mm.
You gotta find out. You gotta take the time to really nurture that part of you as well. Find out who you are as an individual. Who do you want to be? Because that'll be the thing that you can hold on to when you're out there in the business, when things are not consistent, when they're anything but ideal. That'll be the thing that you can always run back to. Remaining who you are, staying who you are as a person will keep you grounded when turbulent times come.
Now, you mentioned Kiki Conversations, so definitely shout out to Karen Slack and so many other
Absolutely.
people who are doing these interviews. But when do you agree that this whole season of COVID-19 has opened up virtual opportunities that never existed before?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And I was telling my wife, listen, I need to learn how to do some of these little Zoom thing. I need to figure it out. I need to figure out some of this stuff, because the reality is, it has infiltrated our world in a whole new way, and it is not going away.
It,
I
it,
don't.
it really is not.
It's not going away. All companies, auditioning processes, everything, all of that stuff. We're reimagining our world. We're forced to, because now we're seeing this COVID-19, and we're understanding that it is not going to go away. The
Mm,
flu, the flu never went away. It's here. We just developed vaccines for it. So I mean,
right.
all these different things are happening, and it's shifting our world quite a bit. And those of us who don't get on board and kind of like learn the new trends and learn what it is, we'll kind of get left behind. So I'm trying to go to school again.
Hezekiah, thank you so much for being here. And just as we end our chat, could you tell the listeners again the time of your recital and maybe a little bit about the venue?
Yes, the venue is the rectory. I forget the full name of the church because it's not up here on my screen again.
That's right, but I do know it's in
It's in
Alexandria, and I was
Alexandria, Virginia, and it's
Mhm.
at the two shows. One happening at 6 o'clock, and the other one happening at 7:30. I'm told that the 6 o'clock show has already been sold out. The 7:30 show, there are a few seats left. Maybe I'm not sure anymore.
Okay.
That was as of this morning. There were a few seats left. So we're looking forward to having a great time. I'm excited to see so many old friends from the DC area, and then so many new friends who've reached out to me on Facebook that tell me that they're traveling, they're coming. One man said he's coming from San Francisco to come and hear me live because he didn't get a chance to when I was a student at Maryland. So uh,
Oh my
I know
goodness.
I mean, what stuff like that. If it doesn't humble you, I don't know what will. I mean, things like that is completely humbling.
Oh my goodness. Again, it's been a joy. And just one final thing, where can people follow you on social media or your website?
Yes, my website is under construction. Thank you, Jesus. It's long overdue. So forgive me and thank you for your patience. Um, you can follow me on Facebook, and also I'm on Instagram.
Again, thank you so much, Issachah. You've been watching Tenor Issachah Savage on the Spotlight series. I'm your host, Patrick D. McCoy, and this has been Across the Arts. And while we leave, I'm going to play one more clip. And again, Issachah, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, sir. I